If I'm feeling really stressed and then as a result of that I'm tired and lethargic, it's probably what's happening here. Okay. Gut, hormones, immune system. And we're going to switch into immune system now. Makes sense? Really important system to have functioning really well. So set some goals around, if you're not already doing this, this is what's going to help to improve generally in small amounts, small goals to improve digestion as a whole. Okay? Okay, so one of those other things that isn't on here that we're going to add now is that to help improve digestion, we also have to identify the inflammation in the body, because we do have it, most people have it, and we're going to talk about what that looks like, changing to dealing with inflammation. Change boards here. Okay, so question, before we answer the question, what is inflammation? Do you think that your body is inflamed?
Yes.
Do you know that your body is inflamed?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So how do you know that, Terry?
It hurts.
It hurts.
It's
So
it's
joints,
swollen joints.
okay?
The blood tests say so.
So you have markers that have come up.
Yeah.
Okay, so swollen joints, blood inflammation marker. So C-reactive protein, white blood cells probably elevated, right? Sheila, do you think your body's inflamed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you identify? Same?
No, although I just had my, you're over 50, you need a baseline medical test, which I have to go back and get.
So blood work?
Interesting to see what the results of that are.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had eczema my entire life,
Eczema, okay.
so skin issues.
Yep. And again, a lot of people don't relate what's happening to inflammation. That is, yeah, your body's inflamed and reacting to something. Okay, so what is inflammation? What is it in terms of what happens in the body? It is the immune system. Remember I said the immune system sends out its army. Your immune system is your protection. Okay? So immune system sends out its white blood cell and some other army. So a perfect example of how your body protects itself is if you are doing something in fitness, you roll over on your foot, you have strained or sprained your ankle. What happens? Swelling, right? In that swelling fluid, white blood cells. So your body, your immune system realizes you have injured yourself, and to protect you from injuring yourself further, which means pain, inflammation, swelling, all of that, it's going to stop you from doing any more movement. That's your body's defense system. So white blood cell army comes out, swollen, and the only way you're going to be able to move that foot or joint is forcibly, which would cause a lot of pain, or rehabilitation, right? Let it heal. Okay, otherwise your body's doing its job. Another example is when you get bit by a mosquito. That red itchy bump, that's your immune system, right? Sending out the army to protect you from that invader, because it's an invader. I mean, anything that your body reacts to from an immune response is an invader. Now, unfortunately, with the immune system, it can attack things that it shouldn't be, which we'll talk about. Okay, so basically inflammation is the immune system, it's reacting, okay, and it's responding to some kind of injury or invasion in your body. So obviously we need it, okay. It's repairs, so tissue, it heals, so if you cut yourself, you will eventually heal from that cut if your immune system is doing its job. It repairs. Scar tissue and scab, that kind of thing, that all And it also defends us. So if we eat or breathe or drink something that has bacteria or viral infection in it, it goes into your body and your body's going to react. Okay. Quite often, vomiting and diarrhea are your immune system reacting to some kind of invader. Okay. So that's great. We need that system. Okay. What happens if we have chronic inflammation? What does chronic mean? Long-term, all the time. What do you think is happening in your body? So if you think about, sorry, I'll come back to that question. If you think about, if you have inflammation inside your body, it creates pressure, right? So inflamed. So we're going to think of the blood vessels in your body. If you have inflammation of those blood vessels, or even the tissues surrounding a blood vessel, or your heart, or your lungs, what is happening? Pressure means it can't function, right? So if you have, so this is where blood pressure, right? Pressure, it's in an inflammatory state, putting pressure on the heart muscle and making it work harder, or not be able to work as hard, which increases the pressure. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's inflammation, that's blood vessel inflammation inside the body. When you have chronic inflammation over time, so chronic inflammation also means what? Your immune system is firing all the time, right? So at some point, don't you think that immune system is going to crash? It's going to be overwhelmed or overloaded and will not be able to do its job effectively. So we become ill, chronically ill. At some point, your immune system will stop doing what it needs to do to protect you. And in that case, so I'm going to use me as an example. I was poisoned, and my immune system started attacking myself, so the inside of my body. So that's an autoimmune. So it's your automatic system, immune system, attacking its own cells or tissue. So autoimmune disorders and diseases. So in my body, I don't have a true autoimmune disorder, but because I've been poisoned and I have a flawed systems, my body's attacking itself, so breaking down. So chronic, and I am inflamed most of the time. So chronic inflammation will cause your immune system to misfire and do not good things, okay? So we don't want to have that. It leads us into chronic illness. So autoimmune, cancer, asthma, IBS, arthritis, osteoporosis, age-related, all of those things will start to happen from inflammation that's not being addressed. Quickly, signs of inflammation in your body. Okay, so we've talked about a few of them. Swollen joints, of course, if you've had blood work that tells us we have inflammation. Skin issues like eczema, psoriasis, those kinds of things. But, and autoimmune, so things like I just mentioned, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, so MS, colitis. Oh, the term itself, itis,
I love this.
means what? Inflammation.
Yes.
Right? Itis. So anything that has itis at the end of it, it's inflamed. Bursitis, diverticulitis, cellulitis, yeah. Sinusitis, rheumatoid arthritis,
I just love Latin.
yeah, all of the itis tells us a lot of information. Okay, so means something's inflamed. Okay, so signs. So heat, hot skin, redness. That's number one. That's going to be what you're seeing on the outside and what you're feeling. So if you have swollen joints, you will feel it. Not just because you're trying to move around and the joints don't want to move. So inflammation within the joint capsule will restrict movement and cause pain. Okay, that makes sense. But you will actually feel it. If you put your hand on a swollen joint, you're going to feel that heat. Army, right? Doing its job. Bloating, inflamed intestines. Bowel movements that are not the size of your intestine. So think about that. If you have bowel movements that are really small, thin, rope-like, intestines are inflamed. Think about what the size of your intestine. So it's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches around, and if you have good, semi-soft waste material that's going through, it's formed, it comes out in the same size as your intestine. If it's smaller than that, you have inflammation because it's being compressed. Okay, makes sense? That's a digestive issue. So digestive issues, right, signs. Fatigue. Extreme fatigue will cause inflammation. Think about your poor immune system on overtime, trying to deal with all the itis in your body. It's not giving you a whole lot of others. So fatigue, general fatigue, but extreme fatigue. So chronic fatigue syndrome, those types of, those are immune system on overdrive, okay? Diabetes can be a sign of inflammation in the body because your blood glucose levels are elevated. So again, that's going to be a blood test that tells us. Eczema, psoriasis, so skin issues, swollen, sore, achy joints. Allergies, so food allergies, seasonal allergies, environmental allergies are all inflammatory. So think about your immune system firing to deal with whatever's floating around in the air, the foods that you take in, your immune system is trying to deal with. If you have inflammation in your body, your other allergies will be worse. Because why? Your immune system's already firing, right? It's already triggered. So anything you put in, it's already there. So it's going to be worse. Seasonal allergies especially, if your allergies are particularly bad, something's going on in the inflammatory response. If you wake up in the morning and you have a really puffy face, puffy eyes, the black or the bags under your eyes, that's all inflammation. Something is creating that in the body. In your mouth, gingivitis, right? So inflammation of the gums, bleeding gums, puffy gums, sore teeth. That's all inflammation in your body. And then we already talked about the gut, second brain, so depression, anxiety, panic, brain fog, can't concentrate. That's all inflammation somewhere, usually in the gut, but somewhere that is then affecting what's happening in your brain. For men, erectile dysfunction, it's often a sign of inflamed. Something is compressing, not getting enough flow. And for women, worsened PMS symptoms or menopause symptoms. Often something is inflamed in the body. Okay, so that's a lot, right? There's a lot of things that can be going on that we attribute to something else or that we just ignore, right? An inflamed body is something that you don't want to be ignoring. One of the other things, foods and acidity. So if you have acidic blood, that means you're taking in foods especially that are high in acid versus, so it unbalances your pH level. So the acid in your stomach, it's a balance. If we are too high, it goes into your blood and creates an acidic blood, which causes inflammation. Your immune system reacts to that. So certain foods create acid. Proteins and fats, so if we eat a lot of them without anything else, you're getting acidic blood. But also caffeine and sugar increase the acidity. So think about if you're putting caffeine in your body first thing in the morning without anything else, what's happening? You're already asking your immune system to create inflammation, right? Before you even have a chance at, let's get the alkaline going. So berries and fermented like yogurt and oatmeal, which is calming, right? You're putting in a stimulant of some kind. Sugar, processed. Acidity goes way up. Inflammation. Okay? Things like gluten and dairy, which are very inflammatory to the body, to every body, but to bodies that are hypersensitive. Okay? Okay, so how do we calm, treat, and prevent inflammation? What do we need to be doing? Stress, remember, gut, hormones, immunity, immune system, they all live in the same place. If you're stressed, your immune system is also stressed. Decreasing stress, and we do that with
Meditation.
exercise, meditation, breathing, checking out, turn off the electronics, go into nature, yeah, being in the moment, right? Those are all de-stressing. What else? Calming inflammation, so we just talked about, so
All those things.
all of those things, yeah.
About
So,
improving digestion.
yeah, so improving digestion is just going to be the whole of what we just talked about, the category. So whatever you need to do to improve your digestion, and all of those basic things will calm and treat. One that's a little more challenging, but I am going to note it, is balancing our hormones. For women over a certain age, we stop producing enough estrogen, and it creates an imbalance with the other hormones, progesterone and testosterone, and a couple other balancing hormones, which is a whole other topic, but it's important. So having a look at the food that we put in the body, and we're going to cover that for the rest of our class. Is it pro-inflammation or anti-inflammation? The foods that you're choosing. Okay, the more pro-inflammation you put into your body, regardless of how well your digestion's working, it's going to produce inflammation because they are pro-inflammation. And then also, so not just food, but any of the toxins that we regularly expose ourselves to. Where do toxins come from? Food, water, environment, your home, products that, remember, your skin is the largest detox organ, okay? Whatever we put on the skin is absorbed into the body. So think about some of the products that we use that you may not even be thinking about that are highly toxic with chemicals that your body then has to deal with, right? Choose your battles, of course. It's easier to deal with food than all the products that we use on our bodies. But be aware, right? Even sunscreen, which is supposed to protect us from, you know, things like skin cancer, can be really damaging because of the chemicals that are in them, okay? Okay, so we are going to talk the rest of our class on food because it's important. So what do you think are some of the pro-inflammation foods? So they promote the inflammatory or immune response in the body.
Wheat, gluten.
Okay,
Sugar.
pro-inflammation. Wheat, gluten, sugar, that's what I heard, right? Yes, yes, yes. Wheat, which is gluten. It's actually the whole gluten category. Do we know what those are? Wheat, rye, barley, wheat derivatives, spelt, kamut. Those are all wheat or gluten-producing grains. Oats, if they're oats are naturally gluten-free until they're processed in a factory that also processes wheat or gluten. Then they become gluten. But you have to be hypersensitive to gluten to be worried about that. Okay, so wheat, gluten, sugar. We're going to come back to that. Also, though, in this category are grains generally. Grains. All grains can be inflammatory to the body.
Can't win. Yes.
No, I mean grains, like.
Yeah. All grains. And then some corn and soy are highly inflammatory because they're common allergy foods. So if your body is allergic, and I use the term allergic to describe any kind of immune response. True allergy is anaphylaxis. You're going to die from that if you don't, if it's not treated. Intolerance and sensitivities, you can be highly sensitive and have horrible reactions to food and not a true allergy. Okay, but I use the term allergy. Corn and soy are often, because they're processed, they're often genetically modified. Body doesn't recognize it as a natural reacts. Okay, so wheat, gluten, grains, sugar. What else?
Milk and dairy.
Dairy, yeah. There's two parts to that. There's the lactose. So if you are lactose intolerant, your body is reacting to the lactose. There's also the casein. That's the protein. Gluten is a protein, just so you know. Your body is typically allergic or reacts to the protein component of a food. Okay, it's usually, and if you're getting allergy tests done, they're looking for a protein reaction most of the time. This is a sugar reaction, but casein is protein. Okay, so there are two parts to a dairy allergy. What else?
Tomatoes.
So, nightshades. So the nightshade plants, that generally means plants that grow at night or in the shade. There's a few of them. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, peppers, all forms, mild to hot. It's also the capsaicums, yeah. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, peppers, those are the general ones in that nightshade category. What else? Vegetable oil that is highly processed. If it does not say organic, cold pressed, it has been processed highly. Sunflower, safflower, corn, soy, canola, all of them get heat treated for the most part, unless you're buying specifically organic cold pressed. Okay, so that is inflammatory to your body. And then of course, the awful, awful ones, deep fried, really bad for your digestive tract, but is going to cause inflammation. Okay, we're going to come back to sugar in a minute. So the stimulants that we learned about, sugar, caffeine in small amounts will cause alcohol, they're all inflammatory. Red meat, mostly it's the saturates in it, so saturated fat is inflammatory. And then of course anything that they're adding that is chemical or artificial additive. So preservatives, additives, sweeteners, colors, flavors, all of that. Your body, if it's not a natural, your body will react. It may only be a small reaction. Okay? You may not even notice it. But remember, anytime your immune system has to react when it shouldn't, it creates an overload, right? Everything works in synergy. Our whole body works together. When one thing is off, everything is off. Small amount, it doesn't matter. It's still creating a problem. I think there's an E on here. Sorry, I like to be accurate. Okay, so preservatives, right? Okay, so there's lots of things that are promoting inflammation. And Terry and I were having a chat before class. Histamine. So your body produces histamine. That's the most reaction that you get, especially seasonal allergies where you get the itchy eyes and runny nose and that kind of thing. Inflammation is also your immune system producing histamine. There are certain foods that are higher in histamine production. So histamine, just a few eggs, some berries, so strawberries would be one.
You said avocado?
Avocado, yeah.
So what's left to eat?
Anti-inflammatory. Let's talk about those. So these are the ones that you're going to add more of to your diet when you're choosing food. Right? What are some anti-inflammatory foods? What do you think? Any thoughts? There's no anti-inflammatory foods. That's it. We're done. We have to starve. Okay, fatty fish. Fish oil. What's one of the best? You just ate it today. Salmon. Wild, not farmed. So if you're buying farmed salmon, you are not helping your body. I know it's cheaper. Your body is worth it. What else?
I do feel like we just like knocked everything off the
Everything
table.
off, yeah, okay.
So,
Most non-starchy veggies, unless it's a nightshade.
We can eat lettuce.
Greens, all of them. Spinach has an issue, but it's a separate, I'm not gonna worry about that one right now. Okay, non-starchy veggies, greens, most nuts and seeds if they're in their natural state, raw, with nothing added to them. Walnuts and almonds are two of the best. Almonds are actually a seed, so you know. Hemp, flax, really good anti-inflammatory properties.
So would this be quinoa also?
Quinoa is a grain. It can be, so I would say yes, it can be on this in smaller amounts. It has a coating that you should soak or rinse away. Okay, so it can be inflammatory if it's not prepared enough in advance. So soaking it for a little bit of time or rinsing it really well. Anything that you rinse that becomes kind of soapy looking, right? So if you rinse beans and you see that sort of sudsy soapy, you want to get rid of that. Your body's going to react to that. So quinoa will do the same thing. It's got a bit of a soapy film. Soak it or rinse it before you cook it. And then it's okay. In small amounts, it's okay. Okay, cruciferous veggies specifically. Do we know what those are? That family? Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, bok choy. That whole family is amazingly anti-inflammatory. Also, because of the chemical properties that they have, onions and garlic. Some of the healing qualities of things like ginger, really good for digestion, and turmeric. Adding turmeric to, a teaspoon of that, just powdered turmeric to something that has anti-inflammatory. Add some ginger, make ginger tea. Cut a chunk of ginger, put some hot water on it, add a bit of lemon. Really healing for the body. Another really important anti-inflammatory, blueberries. Do you remember our superfoods list from our very first class? Most of the foods on the superfoods list are all anti-inflammatory. Sweetener, honey, if it's unpasteurized, anti-inflammatory. The only sweetener that is on the list that has an anti-inflammatory property. Even though it is sugar, it has a specific, again, chemical, phytochemicals in it. Tomatoes are on this list, cooked state, cooked tomato in small amounts. Avocado are also on this list. They're higher histamine producing, but they also are anti-inflammatory because of the type of fat. Again, smaller amounts, don't eliminate it completely. And then something, oh, of course, fermented foods, which we talked about, the probiotic. Kimchi, kombucha, tofu. Sauerkraut, quality yogurt.
Tofu is soy?
Yeah, so soy if it's been processed. Soybeans, so the little, green bean, it hasn't, nothing's happened to it yet. Unless it's a genetically modified crop, you're probably okay with it. And then that is fermented into tofu. So tofu is fermented from soybeans, not processed so much, like into other.
So edamame would be,
Okay, anti-inflammatory.
okay.
Yep. Coconut and all of the coconut products, meat, milk, water, all of them anti-inflammatory. Really, really good for the body.
Say that again?
Coconut, meat,
Oh.
milk,
I just heard the milk. Water.
and water.
And I'm going, what?
So coconut water, coconut milk, coconut meat, okay? All anti-inflammatory. And one that you may not be aware of is pineapple, because of the high level of, high amounts of bromelain that's in it, which is a natural digestive aid. So yes, it is a tropical. Yes, it does have sugar, but it also has other, right? So this is how you start looking at food. It might be that it has, it's, okay, so we're going to use pineapple as the example. It might be that, yes, I told you try not to have as much of the tropicals, higher in sugar, right, less of that. But it also has amazing things in it. It has an amazing digestive aid, the enzyme in it. It also has fiber, okay? So if you're adding, you're choosing foods, think about what you know about them, right? So avocado, amazing for omega-3 fats and fiber. Yes, it's going to produce a bit of histamine, but it also has something other in it, okay? So we have